My name is Don Ginther. I'm from TSAG, First Nations Alberta Technical Services Advisory Group. We're located here in Edmonton. I'm the manager of IT there. What I'm going to talk about today, first I'll give you a quick overview and we'll go through the company and what we do. We have several departments and IT is just one of them. Just a quick run through of that, and then we'll talk about some partnerships we've forged over the years and some of our ICT success stories, lessons we've learned, and maybe some challenges that others are facing as well. So TSAG was formed in 1998 via Chiefs Summit Resolution. We've got a mandate by the Alberta Chiefs, Chief Steering Committee. We have 2 representatives from each treaty region in Alberta. And we also have a board of directors made up of three representatives from each treaty region, 6, 7, and 8. Our goal is to assist First Nations communities in achieving and maintaining high standards through our services, and thereby providing community members with a solid foundation for healthy living. And we have a scope of work that includes, but is not limited to, of course, training, coordinating, liaising, and sharing information among all First Nations technical services providers and their staff. Our mandate, we have several departments. We do animals and human health training. That's through Health Canada. We do hantavirus sessions, as well as dog bite. Our representative goes out to dog spay and neuter clinics on reserve throughout the province and helps set those up. Those are very successful. We do asset management through federally funded architecture and infrastructure on reserve. We have a team of engineers and construction engineering technologists that go out and do assessments and inspections on every federally funded road, bridge, boiler, building, all the schools, anything that's federally funded, and those reports are rolled up and sent into ANSI every 3 years. That's a program that was previously done in-house by the government, and by outsourcing it to us, we've definitely been able to show them some cost savings in that, and the reports are better quality. We have a GIS technician as part of our asset management department, and he's been diligently gathering information on the nations from all the communities and sharing that information back to the communities. We're looking at new ways to use that information, maybe going on the web and making it available to the communities, taking communities that already have their own layers of data and rolling that up, and also even linking it to things such as our asset management reports. So when someone's looking at a layer or a map of their community, they can see the houses, they can see the water treatment plants, could see remote water monitoring locations, and they can click on it, and the last inspection would come up, and they can see it and use that data. And having that data is power for rationale and for taking it to the government for business case purposes to get funds for improvements or changes to the community. We have our environmental management team. We have a team of 3 that do career fairs and environmental youth camps. We really promote math and science among First Nations youth in the province. We also do a lot of school presentations on math and science. We do water conservation classes, go out with the youth and do riparian management, so the water's edge courses. The kids can go and test the water, they can make the water clear, test it for turbidity and such, and see how that works. So really a hands-on approach to bringing science to our youth. We also have a fire prevention officer. He does kind of a nonpartisan approach to fire inspections and after a fire's taken place, so kind of a step back from the community members where everybody may know each other, so our officer can go on site and do like a third-party assessment of what happened. We also do firefighter competitions and training, and our inspector, Leon, he goes out and does workshops with each nation's fire department and is actively involved with them throughout the province. Our IT department is only 4 or 5 years old. It's one of our more fledgling departments. And I'll talk more about that. Our circuit rider training program, we have a team of 7 individuals that travel around the province, and each one is responsible for an area, and they help with the water treatment plant operators and wastewater treatment plant operators. So sometimes the operators may not have the level of certification required for the plant that they're operating in. So having our circuit rider advising and there to help when needed, that lets that water treatment plant operate with the lower certification. And we also help our operators getting their certification. So we offer training, whether it be their GED or their level 1, 2, or 3 operator certificates. We assist with that. We have a training coordinator on staff that helps that, and we've had great success over the years with that as well. And I was just talking to Martin there during the break, and certainly that should be something that maybe would be put online, and maybe we can forge some partnerships there. So our Information Technology Services Department was formed in 2008. Originally, riding on the back of the SuperNet rollout, Health Canada facilities wanted to get on. Originally, they were not allowed to get on via fiber. They were allowed to get on by wireless means only, which was at the time unreliable, unstable, and proved to be more work than should have been. After a number of years, Health Canada was allowed access to the SuperNet via direct fiber, and they partnered with TSAG to do the build. So we had a work with Axia and put fiber to every Health Canada health center, approximately 44 across the province. And working with Axia at the time, we used Axia to do the fiber, and in hindsight, Axia owns the fiber, which has pros and cons associated with it, and I'll talk more about that later. And one of the main drivers, of course, for having a solid, stable, reliable fiber connection was telehealth. And since 2008, telehealth's obviously taken off. Now there's more clinical sessions being done, more remote. Doctors can remain remote. No need to bring them into the community more than they have to. And some communities, it's super hard to get a doctor even more than 1 day a month. So these are enabling these sessions to take place. In April 2009, we became the SchoolNet RMO for Alberta. So there's about 77 schools in the province. Previously, it was done by KCDC in Saskatchewan. They did a fantastic job, and we were very happy to take it over from them. They were doing Saskatchewan and Alberta, and obviously a little cost prohibitive for them to be traveling to Alberta all the time. Schools in Alberta, First Nation schools, traditionally underfunded as it is. So our responsibility for being the RMO is to provide a stable, reliable connection on the fiber that's been provided to them. So we've been doing that for a number of years, and always looking for ways to improve on that as well, and always barking up the government tree for some extra funds to provide some on-site support, some new hardware, and we've been happy to be able to assist them with their video conferencing bridge that's located in our network operations center, and we can facilitate point-to-point and multi-point video conferencing for them. Also, being able to roll out several smart boards, video conferencing units to the schools throughout the school years when funds become available. In 2009, we created our support center. This was, again, an initiative with Health Canada. They wanted to offload all their corporate IT support for all the remote sites. So anybody outside of corporate Edmonton or corporate Calgary, they didn't really want to answer the phone for a help desk ticket for any of those Health Canada employed nurses or band employed nurses or health center staff. So TSAG took that on. We built a support center. We currently support over 500 computers. We have a toll-free number, and it logs, the slide says over 8,000 minutes. It's still standard, if not higher. It's good, and the thing previously with Health Canada, if somebody phoned from a remote site, the corporate staff didn't understand what it's like to be remote. They didn't understand what it's like in the communities even. They probably had never even visited the community, and they didn't want to take the time to really talk to the person and try everything. So luckily with us, we're well staffed, and the TSAG support center can remote into the machines. We can do kind of training. The person can watch us work on their machine remotely, and we also have the technicians that travel to every site on a monthly basis to be on site for more urgent issues that may arise. We have our network operations center that was built also in 2009, so a small 4-rack center in our office on the west end of Edmonton that has a gigi fiber connection, in-rack cooling. It's really nice setup, and it's almost full. So we're happy to say that it's at capacity, and we're happy to say that we have 99.9% network uptime during core business hours. The only kind of reason that that wouldn't be 100 is due to power failures out at our sites. So the knock has been up 100% of the time, but some of our sites that we connect to, you know, rolling sporadic power outages in the communities and stuff. So we're definitely happy with that, and it meets all the requirements that we've set forth with our clients. The Network Operations Center monitors over 4,400 elements from devices. So usually when a site goes down for whatever reason, even if it's power, we can give them a call and ask if their internet's working before they've even noticed that it's not working. So we're happy to say that. The NOC was created to facilitate the First Nations having access to the information superhighway, and the support that we provided, you know, we're really happy with how well that's been, and we try and maintain, you know, super high levels. Having all this stuff come to us has created economies of scale, so we're able to reduce costs for all our clients the more we have on, and some of our other government clients are realizing that as well now, that it's been in operation for a couple of years. So by building the NOC ourselves, we had no reliance on a third party, and as we get more clients coming in, more data coming through, more traffic, then we can reduce the costs for everybody. And coincidentally, the cost for bandwidth hopefully is coming down too through the Alberta SuperNet. Axia is working on some different pricing models, so we'll be able to pass those savings along as well. By having integrated services, we can just have the single gateway in our office, so we can, the traffic coming through one location, it's one place to look at security, one place to do management and monitoring. This was a very stable and reliable architecture, and the administration operation, one place for all that to happen, as well as reporting and documentation. So some of our government clients, we provide monthly and yearly reports on all the data that comes through our Network Operations Center, so we can let them know what kind of traffic is causing the highest usage on the bandwidth. Health centers in particular, with the video conferencing and the telehealth going on, they want to know and make sure that the video conferencing will be available when it's needed. So if a clinical session is going to occur, and we put means in place to make sure that it's available, and we can adjust if necessary. Our network is continuously expanding. A couple of years ago, we received First Nations infrastructure funding through the Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development Canada. So we provided First Nations-owned fiber to all the band administration buildings in Alberta, as well as high-speed connections to water treatment plants. The water treatment plants came into scope primarily because of a remote water monitoring project that we've been working on. So I'll talk more about it in a second, but real-time data monitoring of the water treatment plants, just over 50 of them in Alberta. And we also began working with Child and Family Services offices on reserve, so the delegated First Nation agencies. And we're really an overarching body. We're not taking over for the vendor relationships they've already forged. We're just doing inventory management, any procurement or procurement checks, and vendor engagement. So that really with the DFNAs previously, they were operating as silos throughout the province. There was no real means for them to connect and talk to each other, so we've kind of bridged that gap. And we can offer all the vendors of the DFNAs the same service, a single point of contact. And we can also roll that back up to the GOA, the Government of Alberta, who the DFNAs are responsible to use their programs for the Child and Family Services intervention application for case management. A very successful program that we've done is the First Nations Skills Link program. So we take Aboriginal youth throughout the province and put them in job placements. Primarily we've done information technology placements. We've had great success every year. In the last couple of years we had approximately 10 youth. We hope to get 10 to 12 this year. So if anyone has any ideas for job placements for some Aboriginal youth, if you have the youth in mind especially, there's funding that we can provide for their salary to either pay for it or offset it. And we also provide training at least once per year. Traditionally it's been IT, kind of a soup to nuts IT primer course for some of the kids, if they, depending on their level and background in IT. So we're also always looking for new training ideas too. Every year, if we don't have to do just kind of a general IT, if we could do, we've thought of things like installing wireless networks or GIS, maybe if there's youth that are interested in GIS. We're open to ideas as well, so if anybody has any, please please see me after or contact me. And we try and keep the youth in or near their communities as well. And that really blends the capacity building, which is a core strength of TSAG. And we want to keep the youth in their communities for the work, as well as bring the information and knowledge back to the community and keep it there. So this is kind of a high-level diagram of our connectivity. We've got the schools, the health centers, the Bannerman, and the water treatment plants, all coming through the AXIA point of presence, the POP site in every community, and then through the SuperNet comes into our network operations center, where we do add the security and any reporting and roll-ups, any quality of service that needs to take place. It's all done there, and out to the internet cloud. So a remote water monitoring system I mentioned earlier. So there's a picture of the actual device that's installed in approximately 50 sites around the province, and they are actual computer terminals. They're made in Austria, and they monitor and record all the data from things such as nitrates, turbidity, chlorine, residual chlorine, pH, color, things that are very important to the operators, and things that are monitored on they're monitored not automatically, but also by community health representative comes in, takes these tests. So this isn't the only way they view it. It's just to back up the tests that are already being done. And then it was traditionally put on paper for reporting purposes. Now they have a real-time data export occurring to our network operations center. It's stored on a server. So any reports the community would like to see for the last day, month, year, as the data comes in, we can roll that up. And again, that provides a great basis for business case rationale if they need to go to ANSI for some additional funds, maybe some upgrades to the treatment plant. And this is all made possible through the wireless high-speed connections that are at the water treatment plants now. And these systems are for monitoring only. It's important to note there's no changes being done in these systems. It's still the operators there. Any changes, turn the valve, open the valve, adjust the potassium, permanganate, that kind of stuff is all done by the operator. This is simply a monitoring tool. And these values, as much as Health Canada say would like to have them, Health Canada does not have access to this data unless the community wants to provide it. It's a community-centric data collection tool. So some of the benefits of the remote water monitoring, the alarms that they can create for the operators, it can set, you can set boundaries for each individual value. So if it goes outside those, the operator and possibly our circuit rider can get a text message or an email alert letting them know that this value has gone outside the normal operating range. And if it does not correct it in a little while, it'll send it again. That's good for accountability purposes. This is increasing the health and safety of potable drinking water in Alberta First Nations. Already, since the system has went into place last 6 months, give or take, there's been 1 or 2 communities that were previously on boil water advisories. They're very happy to say they've come off because now they've got this nice length of data they can take to Health Canada, and they can show them that, here's the real values, every 5 minutes or every 2 minutes. Please have another look at the boil water advisory, which some cases have been there for 4, 5, 6 years. So it's already being used for excellent justification when dealing with the government. Water quality problems are promptly identified, and the people are instantly alerted. And this will definitely help mitigate the risk of water contamination. And having the data stored off-site and central, where it's going to be kept forever, data retention. It's a community-owned data, so whenever they need it or want it, it's there for them. I mentioned earlier the build we did with AXIA for Health Canada Fiber several years ago. So when we did the band administration build, we looked back and we thought about a better way of doing it. And we talked to AXIA, and we wanted to do, they really had no choice but to say, you can use us or you can do it yourself. So what we did was we did ourselves, brought in some of the First Nation to own fiber in Canada. We sit on boards and communities with, especially in the Assembly of First Nations across the country, and everybody's looking for us and for Alberta as a model of how to get some more and more First Nations owned infrastructure. Because Alberta, we're very, very lucky here. Even as much as we say the cost for bandwidth is high and the cost to get it to our communities is high, in other provinces it's double, triple that. And dealing with some of the crown corporations that own the infrastructure, it's a really, really uphill battle for other provinces. So even as much of it is for us, it's even more greater across the country when you talk to them. So previously we've been paying Axia full price, but we have no ownership. It's got pros and cons. If there's a cut or somebody cuts the cable, digs up the fiber, then it's Axia would pay for it. Once it's First Nations owned, that falls on the First Nations. So we had one cut at Paul Band, and so you get the $12,000 bill. You can't really. It's hard to go after the company that did it if they're just some small ma and pa, trenching company. So those kinds of things happen, and that's a liability that you incur. But still, definitely the benefits of ownership far outweigh those. And this brings negotiating power. It brings flexibility to the community. When you have an Axia POP site and you have different connections coming off of that POP site, you have to pay Axia for every single connection. If we could get a First Nations POP site in every community and start dispersing off of that, you only have the one connection. So, and the more bandwidth you buy, the cost comes down as well. So that's kind of a model that we'd like to see used in the future. If we can ever reduce our reliance on Axia, then that would be great. And having ownership, obviously the opportunities present themselves to First Nations. And kind of our thoughts was also why pay somebody else when First Nations can pay themselves. So TSAG is a First Nations owned company, and we pass that along to the communities. And obviously there's still lots to do to reduce dependency on companies like Axia, like I mentioned, the multiple connection fee and the single community connection. So we have, once you own the fiber and once you have all this infrastructure in place, obviously you become vulnerable in a sense. So equipment failure, like I mentioned, line cuts, line breaks, water treatment plants, you have this connectivity, it becomes relied upon. And water is a very hot topic, and water quality and monitoring is obviously something that needs to be kept up in check. And we feel that once we're really responsible for it. And also security, so security of any data that may be coming in, data that's traveling, and security of the infrastructure that's out there. And cost savings, cost savings get passed on, whether it's on the communities or onto our government funders, which are kind of our core funders, core clients, our anchor clients. What we want to do is be able to show that we have been able to live up to the promise of, after a couple of years, we can pass on the economies of scale model and show cost savings for everybody. So the idea that we've entered into is to create a fund to collect revenue. So by creating a for-profit arm in TSAG, what we can do is have a IT trust set up, and any profit generated from a for-profit entity will go into that trust and can be redistributed back to the communities. The example of the school net that's up there, to run the school net costs almost $600,000 a year just to provide the connections, just the connectivity through Axia and the gateway. But New Paths, the government only gives to $400,000. So every year we're running a deficit on that. And the last thing that we want to do is go to the government and take money out of the school's pockets. So what we do is we cover that cost through other programs, through any profit ventures that we can have. So we know we're not taking that money. And at the end of the year still, if the government comes and offers additional funds, we use that for smart boards, video conferencing, additional replacement of the aging infrastructure, whatever we can do. We don't want to take any money out of the already stretched school budgets, because we know and we're listening and we're hearing that that's the way it is. So once we have the First Nations owned infrastructure, then we're trying to bring economic opportunities for the communities. That's it for my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?